Well, hello. It's Friday morning. I'm going to pause here just a moment right at the beginning because I know we have a few people signing in. I'm really excited about today. We have such a lovely exercise. And you know what's really cool this week? When I signed on today, another coach had shared a link to an article called, oh, I can't remember the exact title, but something about if you're functioning at 50%, that's fine because self-isolation is exhausting, which is kind of the reminder I needed to make sure I am sharing with all of you the idea that as we work on this forgiveness, we need to be gentle with ourselves. We need to tell the truth, but we need to be gentle. As I was writing my forgiveness letters this week, one of them took more than one day to write. And I thought, that really shouldn't have happened because, it's not like you're doing much, but it did. And then, although I did get more than one written, I didn't write as many as I thought I would. So I appreciate that reminder this morning to be gentle as we do this. So welcome to Forgiveness Fridays. I'm your host, Sylvia McIntosh. I was trained by Rhonda Britton's Fearless Living Institute in California, and I am both a certified Fearless Life Coach and a certified Fearless Trainer. So this is the third session in our series of meetings of this community, which has come together to practice forgiveness in support of healing the holes in the souls of humanity. I want to remind you that this is a slideshow, and so because of that, I cannot see any questions or comments that you post during the show, but at the end, I'll take this away from being full screen so that I can see your questions and answer anything that you have up there. So feel free to post things. If you have questions, I certainly want to know. If you have questions and you want a personal response, then you can either PM me here on Facebook, or I have my email here on the page at lifecoachmcsylvia@gmail.com, and you can contact me that way. So our focus on forgiveness is designed to support in choosing a positive and healing outlook as we go through this pandemic, which is called a halt to life as normal around the world. And we here are choosing forgiveness as an antidote to the blame and frustration and a sense of uncertainty. Who is telling the whole truth? How long will this last? Will I have a job when this is over? And I'm sure there are other questions contributing to this sense of uncertainty. If you've been with me from the start, we've done 3 forgiveness exercises so far. In the first session, we did a forgiveness contract about our willingness to consider forgiveness as a useful tool. And we started writing our cringe list, which is a list of anything we want to forgive in ourselves and others. And I call it a cringe list because even if it just makes you cringe, maybe it doesn't make you angry or upset terribly to think about it, but if you still cringe about a memory, then it is still draining energy today. So it needs to be forgiven. It's ready to be forgiven. Week 2, last week, we wrote a forgiveness letter. We used a format provided by Rhonda Britton, in which case she provided some starter sentences so that we could write this letter and address the issues that are often a part of things that we hold on to in an unforgiving way. Talking about why it hurt, what we wish had been different. And that letter concluded by looking at our own part in what happened and how we would choose to respond differently now. Each week, I will introduce a different tool or exercise to help guide you through the process of forgiving something or someone, and this includes forgiving ourselves. And once we've been through all the tools, we'll start over and do it again. But can you imagine how much more ease you could experience in your life if forgiveness were a daily or even an hourly practice. Imagine if whole families did this, and then it spread to communities. This is what I imagine world peace looks like. Today we have a list exercise, the I Forgive You list. This is another exercise from Rhonda, and we're going to get to that in just a couple minutes. But as I talk about forgiveness, I want to point out a couple things. One, it isn't usually a one and done deal. Things we forgive today may come back days, weeks, even years later. And that's an opportunity to be gentle with yourself and get curious. Ask, what else can I learn from this? Because sometimes there are many lessons to be found and we aren't ready for all of them the first time around. And I want to remind you, I'm not talking about glossing over something, acting like nothing happened, or welcoming the person who you feel has hurt you back into your life with open arms. Forgiveness is something we do for ourselves. It isn't about the other person. It's releasing the fear and the blame so that we can stay present. There are other forces at work in the universe that can take care of the others. The only person over whom we truly have control is ourselves. So for our purposes, let's define forgiveness as the release of an event or comment so it can stay in the past where it really is. Instead of carrying unforgiveness with me, which is like lugging a huge rock with me everywhere I go, it's more like looking at the incident as a soap bubble, letting it float away, eventually to pop, due to the fact that it actually has no substance. Forgiveness Fridays is about working toward a more positive mental outlook while we work through the COVID-19 crisis and beyond. And by the way, you can do this every day of the week. I call it Forgiveness Fridays because 8 o'clock Friday morning Eastern Daylight Time is when I'm live. But I work on this every day. I encourage everyone to work on this at least a little bit every day. Forgiveness allows that we are not all the same, and it opens up the greater curiosity about acceptance and respect for difference among us. And this comes back to my personal view of life and people and trying to view it more like a garden. I mean, gardens of all one flower are very impressive while they bloom, but they tend to have a very short life. So when gardens are designed by professionals, they put in all kinds of things, different heights, different colors, different textures, different bloom times, so that the garden is interesting all the time, not just for a couple days in the spring or at the height of summer. And as I see it, the correlation between actively practicing forgiveness and the pandemic is due to the definition of what a virus is. If a virus is something that poisons the mind or soul, like the virus of prejudice, and it requires a living host or cell to replicate it, then that just made it seem to me like unforgiveness is almost like a virus in that it requires us to keep it going, and it poisons our minds as long as we serve as hosts. So we are here on Forgiveness Fridays because we no longer wish to be host to the unforgiveness virus, and we don't need an external vaccine for this. So that brings us to our new exercise for today. Today, instead of a letter, we are going to write out a list and then forgive each step on the way. And I want to remind you, I have PDF copies of these exercises that you can get by signing up for the Forgiveness Friday email list. And just go to my website, sylviamcintosh.com, and use the subscribe button. And my email is there too if you want to send in private questions. So if you have your pen and paper handy, just take a blank piece of paper and write a big T on it, with a line right down the middle. And that top left column is you're going to label that with the description. That's going to be the name of the person or the situation you're forgiving. And then the top of the right-hand column is the I forgive you side. So it works like this. You're going to write something you wish hadn't happened in the left-hand column. And then immediately, as soon as you're done with that sentence, you're going to write I forgive you on the right. So it looks like this. For instance, Mom, I wish you hadn't criticized me all the time. I forgive you. Mom, I wish you hadn't been so hard to care for when you got sick. I forgive you. Mom, I wish you had shown me how to finish projects, not just start them. I forgive you. So you starting to get the idea? In the letter last week, we wrote out everything and let the process of writing come full circle. This time, we are practicing forgiving each little part of the hurt along the way. Now you can continue to add to your cringe list as you continue to pull from it as you do these exercises. And remember, this is for your eyes only. You're not supposed to publish this. You don't put these letters on social media or send them into the newspaper. This is not your public rant. This is private sorting. The only person you might share a list like this with would be if you were working with a professional coach, and this were one of the exercises that your coach, someone like me, were to assign. You could share it with the coach. But once again, this is highly effective working through it with someone who knows you're doing it without having to show them everything you write down. So this is for your eyes only. Forgiveness is about the stories we tell ourselves. This is our opportunity to look at those stories and sort out the fact from the opinion, acknowledging the feelings that we have around the event, allowing them to happen and to pass on through. So whatever story is playing in our thought is spreading its energy throughout your system. So it can be waves of emotion against which we need to fight. But feelings will pass through unless we start telling ourselves a story and feeding them, hanging on to them, often even making them more intense than when they first showed up. Holding a grudge is a form of storytelling. We're repeating the story to ourselves, what went wrong and what we wish about that, whether we're wishing for a different ending or we wish that person that did such a terrible thing, we want to see them pay for that. As long as it makes us angry or even just cringe a little, it is draining our energy in the present moment when the event is from the past. Forgiveness can feel really hard or ineffective at first, like a Band-Aid on a broken leg, but I promise you, as you practice this, it will become more natural. And the inner peace you feel will spill over into current events, so you no longer keep piling on hurts and resentment. When you forgive, it ripples out. It's gentle and calming. My personal goal is to get to the point where I can lead with acceptance, curiosity, and forgiveness. And I need more practice. Now, I highly recommend that you do seek support. Find someone to encourage you, someone who can sit with you if you need it. Now, I realize we can't get together physically right now, but someone you could call or hang out with on Google Hangouts who could just sit with you while you're working through these emotions and lend a supportive and non-judgmental ear, someone who's good with quiet, because it may be you just need somebody there present with you, even if you're not talking and you don't want someone else filling that space with a lot of words. And as I said earlier, you can also get support from me. Send me a private message or email me at lifecoachmcsylvia@gmail.com. And I'm offering a free 20-minute private coaching session for being a part of this program to help you take this work deeper and also give you the opportunity to test drive what private coaching is. It's a chance to really, I view coaching, my job as a coach is to help you unlock all of the answers that you have. Because I don't know what you need, but you do. It's just because of the way we function, we quickly learn to lock those answers away because somebody else has been telling us what to do for so long. And we get to the point where we start doing what we're told, and things may not feel right, but we're not quite sure why. And I can help you find that safe, find the combination, open up those answers, and learn to lead from your own inner truth in a way that supports you in being truly, authentically, completely you. So this week, your assignment, should you choose to accept, take 15 or 20 minutes as soon as this video ends and do this exercise about something from your cringe list. Now, I expect writing this list will feel very different than writing the letter we wrote last week. The different tools are designed to give you different ways of working through whatever is a burden on your heart. Some events might be addressed better in a letter, and others you might prefer the list. For me, I prefer the letter if it's a deep personal wound, like if I feel like I've been hurt deeply by someone, then I like the letter because it allows me to work through deep down what's really bothering me, and it also helps me understand my role in what happened, my role in bringing it forward, and therefore it supports me in releasing the event, leaving it in the past. But I really like this list when I'm trying to forgive current events, the way the news is presented, the people in the news who, if the story is accurate, are being so ridiculous or rude or selfish or whatever my judgment of the people is. I really like the list when I'm working on releasing current events. Next week, we're going to talk about the release ceremony, which will really help in completing the closure. As I said earlier, these lists that we're writing, don't share them. And also, you don't really want to leave them lying around. I found that when I encounter a list later, reading it again, instead of being supportive, sometimes just stirs it all up. The idea of writing this down is to get it out. So with the release ceremony, we can then get rid of what we've written and release that energy. So we'll go through a release ceremony next week. And I don't know about anyone else, but I think every couple weeks we'll do the release ceremony again rather than accumulate all these exercises. Because as I was working this week, I just really felt like, yeah, I'm ready to write the list, and I don't like it that my letters are hanging around. So next week we'll do the release ceremony. And I want to remind you that you can get PDF copies of these exercises by signing up. Oh, I'm going to go back. So this week we have the picture of the group of candles because our flame is growing as we continue to live in and radiate this greater peaceful energy. If you'll remember from session 1, we just had a photo of a lit match. Session 2 last week was a single candle, and now we have lots of candles because your light will grow brighter with each layer of unforgiveness that you remove. So you can get your paper copies, you can contact me. The people that I work with for coaching are people who are truly dedicated to moving forward and making changes in their life. I am not a complaining buddy, so if you're not really interested in solutions, then coaching isn't for you. So now let's find out. Questions, comments, ideas. What would anybody like to know? Yeah, sometimes things have to be repeated, and that's totally fine. We'll do forgiveness is a process. It's a life practice. It's an opportunity to be gentle. I'll see if I'll find that article about why this self-isolation in and of itself can be exhausting. So even though we have all this time at home, we may feel like we're not being as productive as we ought to feel. And we need to remember to be gentle because this process is exhausting in and of itself. So I'll share that article on my page too, so you can find that. And focus on how you feel as you're writing these letters and writing these lists. Are you excited? Are you scared? Are you frustrated that you even need to do this? Because if you're frustrated about doing the exercises, then definitely do them and release that frustration. Don't carry it forward anymore. Thank you for being here now. Thank you for being here throughout the week. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for being a part of this. And I love your willingness to practice forgiveness in support of healing the souls of humanity. I'm Sylvia McIntosh. I look forward to hearing from you soon.